Remember when people used to carry around pistols like we carry around our phones now? Like if you leave the house without it, you might actually be unalived. Except back in the Old West, that was actually true. And although Lego started in 1949, it's rather surprising it took them nearly 50 years to shift their focus to the frontier. The growing popularity of the classic American westerns was inescapable. The year is 1995, and Lego has begun work on what would be their next literal gold mine, featuring cowboys, Indians, and cavalry. And in the summer of '96, it officially hit store shelves. Kids couldn't get enough of this stuff. We'd never really got a new theme that focused on a real historical era. Aside from castle and pirates that just focused on some fantasy elements, this was Lego's attempt at a real historical representation of life on the American frontier. Wanting to create our own stories we'd seen so many times on the big screen. In classic spaghetti westerns, sitting on the living room floor battling it out over Fort Legoredo, while our dad sits in his chair watching old episodes of Rawhide and Gunsmoke. A simpler time indeed, when kids growing up wanted to be cowboys and astronauts, and now they're just dreaming about what kind of gender they're gonna be.
What did he say?
So today, I want to take a look at what made those sets great. And, what didn't. So basically, the Western theme was set up into three distinct categories. You had sets that focused mainly on bandits and sheriffs doing the typical cops and robbers scenarios. Sets that focused on the US cavalry with a more military approach, with ideas of encampments and traveling convoys. And then sets for Indians, or for my softer audiences, Native Americans.
Wow.
That shown the average day-to-day life of an Indian floating around in a kayak and skinning up some animals. Lego wanted to go so hard on this theme, it was literally the first time they introduced realistic firearms like revolvers and rifles, creating molds that were so good, Lego still uses them even today. So while the pirate sets only featured antique weapons like muskets and flintlock pistols, this was a big move on Lego's part to create new molds for the entirely new theme. It was also the first theme to introduce racial characteristics for minifigures, that being like the printed headpieces for the Indians like face paint and even the angry looking bandits, aside from just like the normal yellow smiling faces we'd gotten for the past 20 years. This added a lot of depth and variety to the minifigure lineup. Aside from those noses, which, oh my gosh, Lego, no, don't ever, and I mean ever, do that again. Holy. Okay, where were we? Oh yes. So the first year of sets had a storyline based off of the official Lego commercials and lore.
It was an early Lego morning, and something just felt funny, because Flatfoot Thompson and his gang were in the bank stealing the money.
But basically all the sets take place in or around a small mining town called Legoredo, or also known as Gold City, giving it that true authentic gold rush American frontier vibe. You had the recurring bandits of Flatfoot Thompson, Black Bart, and Dewey Cheatham. They were constantly causing ruckus all over town. They were usually being chased down by Sheriff Wild Wyatt West and his trusted friend Deputy Dan.
I'm Lieutenant Dan Taylor. Welcome to Fort Platoon.
Yeah, this guy ain't gonna be getting much done against whatever that is. So when the sheriff needed to call in for some more help and backup, Colonel Colt Carson would be there with his entire division of soldiers to help bring some justice and firepower to the town of Legoredo. And oh my gosh, it's Jean Rambo? No, not that one. This is Captain Jean Rambo, spelled like he's French or something.
I want accuracy and precision. Make ready!
No, not that guy either. Okay, anyways, Lego was definitely letting us know this guy was not someone to be trifled with in his covered wagon of cavalry firepower. So according to the lore and the 1 30-second Lego commercial that we got, Flatfoot Thompson was the leader of the gang, and one morning he gets Black Bart and Dewey Cheatham together and they bust into the Legoredo bank and steal all the money. And after a big shootout, they get the heck out of there and make their way to the hideout. Gold City Junction and Sheriff's Lockup were where the story really begins, meant to go together in a sort of modular way. The junction even came with this cool bank wagon where it had this really cool feature where Black Bart could take his trusty TNT and shove it into a hole on the side of the wagon, and the back would blast off with some sort of cool technique using a shock technique. That, as far as today's standards, sounds pretty easy. Back then was like Edison making the incandescent light bulb for the first time. Funny enough, the guy who drove this wagon was called Flat Nose Curly. I mean, this is just another thing Lego has lost over time, and that's having named characters in their sets. Aside from a few I can think of off the top of my head, like Queen Leone from the Lion Knight's Castle, Lego made it a point to name so many characters in this entire theme, and it just felt cool as a kid knowing you didn't just have some random figures. It felt like it was a person that mattered to the overall story they were trying to tell. They had wanted posters and Legoredo signs all over the place. And again, they used that same technique where you could put a 1x2 flat Lego TNT piece into the side of the bank and it would literally blow out the wall and send any unsuspecting bystander flying across the streets of Legoredo. I mean, talk about a heist. This is crazy to think we had this as a kid and not just a closed door with some money behind it. I don't care how many times you did it, you just wanted to reload the thing and blast it off again. I mean, the banker even had a pencil tucked in his ear and a pocket full of cash, with some cool Wild West spectacles. And again, Lego knew we'd love it, so for the jail cell, they used the same technique with the shock technique to give you the ability to blast the side of the jail wall out and free any of your posse that the sheriff locked up. We sure as heck know this guy ain't keeping them in there. So after the bank heist, the gang made their way towards the hideout. But this set that also came out in this wave was called Sheriff's Showdown. Makes it seem like the sheriff caught up to him and they got into a little shootout along the way to the hideout. Coming in at only $4, this was cool because I mean you get a horse, some dynamite, a good guy, a bad guy, literally everything you need to create a story in your head. But if you had another $40, you could get the Bandit Secret Hideout, the next set in the storyline. So the bandits, after stealing the bank money, get to their secret hideout. Built out of an old gold mine, with the sheriff hot on their tail, he comes looking for them, but with some help from the cavalry this time. He probably decided he needed some people who were actually gonna do something. That's right, I'm looking at you, Deputy Dan. This set came with this crazy base plate, and it had a smooth surface on it so you could easily wheel a wagon across it, without it bouncing all over the Lego studs, or even just set up your horses and figures in any way you'd like. But I think the real reason they did this was for this cool play feature where the bandits could put this rope across the trail, where when it gets tripped on, it lowers the rails and a cannon comes flying down the tracks. This set had all kinds of booby traps like this. One where a barrel could topple over on anyone trying to get up the stairs, a sign that can flip up and let a barrel go rolling down the roof, and nail the cavalry scum on the head. Wait, what side are we supposed to be rooting for again?
You rebel scum.
This crazy Gatling gun looking contraption with all this different range of motion? I mean, come on, could you imagine being Deputy Dan walking up on this place and seeing this guy aiming this thing right at your head?
I'm in danger.
But if you were lucky enough and had the $8 for the covered wagon, these guys didn't stand a chance against the fearless Frenchman, Jean Rambeau, from Rolling Up with his arsenal of weapons. But eventually the story takes a turn and the cavalry captures the gang of miscreants, which leads us to our largest and final set of the first wave, Fort Legoredo. I'm not joking when I say if you had this thing, you felt like Tuco from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, who just found the hidden grave full of gold. For $85 in a layout and display that still holds up even today, it was the perfect set to top off your Lego Western dream, with big tall walls that used these brown bricks that made it look like logs. I mean, only using a couple of colors, this thing looks pretty dang perfect as a representation of an old cavalry fort. It had these nice big doors that you could fit horses through, and also braces where you could keep the doors from opening. Nice big colored signs and flags depicting the fort's name, tall lookout posts at the entrance, a headquarters over top of the jail cell. I mean, it even had this feature when the colonel was interrogating a member of the gang, you can turn this table and drop him straight into the jail cell. Or maybe the gang overthrows the fort, you can also turn the tables and lock the colonel out of his own fort and use this place as the new Bandit hideout. The possibilities were endless. You could set this thing up so it had this huge scale factor. Now, all the previous sets had come out on August 1st, but Fort Legoredo came out on October 1st, and this would be the final set for the new Western theme of 1996. After they finished the storyline of Flatfoot Thompson, Lego knew the next step was going to be a controversial one, but that didn't stop them from going all in with a wave focused on the Native Americans. But that's a story for another time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing and join the Brick Bandit posse. I'll see you in the next one.